We're going to be using the melting pot, and for this we're going to be using clear ultra thick embossing enamel. And I already got it started and poured the enamel into the melting pot. And when you put it in, it's in this powder form, and then over time it takes, I want to say, 5 to 10 minutes for it to completely melt down, depending on how much you put on in there. I put maybe a half a cup to a cup in there. I'm going to be making 2 for you, so I had to put a little bit more in there. But you can always add it if you don't have enough. Once you've got it melted, adding a little bit, it tends to melt a lot faster because the enamel that's in there is already really hot. Just to kind of tell you a little bit about the melting pot itself, it has a UT setting, which is the type of formula that this is. And that is what you need to put it on in order to melt anything that you see is UT. It's spelled UTEE. Anyway, so I always set it to the UT to melt it. And I've done this a couple of times, so I've kind of learned as I went that I put it on UT to melt it completely, and then I turn it down to the setting of about 300 to 260 whenever I am getting ready to pour the enamel. Because when it's on the UT setting, it is extremely hot, and when I pour it into my mold, it bubbles a lot, and depending on what I put inside the magnet, as far as the paper or any embellishments I might add, it bubbles and creates this chaos that makes your papers move around, and it actually gives a pretty messed up look overall because it doesn't lay flat. It gets bubbles in it, so you want to turn it down a little bit just to prevent that from happening. And let's see, like this is just one I want to show you a close-up of. We used a piece of just regular circle paper of our choice, and we just cut it out to be whatever size we want. Basically, it depends on the mold that you're going to use. And we used one of our butterflies, just like the outside of our box, and we put some stickles on the outside. And then we're also going to be using a philosophy tag, one of Tim Holtz philosophy tags. And for the mold, I just actually found the perfect little size that I needed from the top of one of my teas at home. So really you can use anything that you want. We actually used some, let's see here, some of your cupcake papers. You can use that. And here's actually one that we made using that, so you can see it makes it a little bit more rustic looking, but it does hold well and it peels right out. No matter what you use, I do suggest spraying it with Pam or some kind of cooking spray so that your mold comes, or your magnet comes right out of whatever mold that you use. So we just use regular Pam. I already have it sprayed into my mold. And to start, again, I already have my enamel melted. And these are what is called Cool Tools by the same Ranger company. It's actually a lady, Suze Weinberg, that designs this stuff. And these tools actually really do come in handy for a couple of reasons. One that's nice thing about them is they clean off very easily. It's kind of just like messing with wax. Like if you ever stick your finger down in like a candle and you get wax on your finger, it just kind of peels right off. So it peels right off of the tools. I like to use this tool to stir my enamel around. See, like in this instance, I already have it too low. It's been sitting for too long. So I need to put it back on the UT setting to help it melt back again. That is one thing I will say. You only want to turn it down probably about 5 minutes before you're about to pour it. This has been sitting here for about 15 minutes, so it started to dry up again. But you're really only wanting to turn it down so that you can pour it into your mold and it doesn't bubble up on you. Of course, you want your magnet to be flush against the back so that it will stick to a refrigerator or whatever you're using it for. And in this case, this is actually a metal backing on this, so it just so happens that the magnet sticks to it. which makes it just a little bit more challenging to get it out, but it still comes out just fine. So I place the magnet right where I want it. And first, let's get all of the pieces that we're going to put in. You want to go ahead and glue your pieces together if you can, depending on what you're using, to keep everything in place better. Because this stuff, once you pour it, it dries very fast. So if you haven't already glued everything together, then if you have trouble getting everything right where you want it, if you're trying to lay it in place as you're pouring it into the mold, it'll dry up so fast and you won't be able to move anything around. So it's going to stay wherever it lands, if that makes any sense. I'll move my tag around a little bit. And in this, I actually just glued the center of the butterfly so that the wings almost look like they're floating inside the mold once you have it poured in there. It gives like a floating effect where everything's not flattened together. So I have my main design put together. And I'm going to check the formula to make sure it is all melted. Because if you have any chunky pieces, it will like land into your project and mess it up. Okay, once I have a little bit of a layer in there, I'm going to stop, put my butterfly inside, and then immediately pour as fast as you can once you have that in there so that the underneath layer hasn't dried on you. And you can kind of mess around with the bubbles as they come up and get rid of them. Otherwise, the bubbles will stay there, and it won't be a flat, nice surface for you. So just kind of play with it as they come along. And it was probably because it was too hot. I had it sitting on the UT so long. So that shows that you really need to turn it down right before you pour it. And eventually the bubbling just stops and you don't have to keep doing this. But overall, this process, the magnet will be complete and dry within 5 minutes flat. It really does not take a long time. So try to pop the bubbles as much as you can so that you have a nice flat surface. Also, when it's really hot and it bubbles like that, there tends to be really tiny bubbles that are all throughout the magnet. So if you can have it on a cooler setting, it just makes the overall magnet more clear and easy to see through to see your design that's inside. Oh, there it came. So now you have a totally flush magnet to the back. And our butterfly with a journaling tag. This one says Journey. Might be a little hard for you to see on there, but they look so cute. If you have a whole set of them, it's a perfect little gift. So we're going to make a second one. And like I said, this one was a little hot, so it has like a little bit of the bubble effect going on. So the second one I'm going to try to do without any of those bubbles. It is kind of something you have to play around with. And what's cool about it is it's fun. So even if you do mess up, oh well, it's just fun to play around with and get to learn it a little bit and get the feel of it.